All right. Yeah, road signs, right? So again, let me remind you, road signs, signals, and markings. All these three, they are the communications that we find on the road. Okay. Now let's look at road signs, particularly good zonas to the other two. Okay. So road signs, they are the communications that are written on the boards, right? So these ones are written on the boards. And yeah, to a driver, they communicate. All right. So there are 4 groups or categories of these type of signs that you'll find on the road. The first one is your regulatory signs. That's the first group. The other one, warning signs. Okay. And guidance, information. I hope you see or you realize from the naming, right? Like your regulatory are there to regulate or control traffic, control the road users, stuff like that. Your warning, they're there to warn road users, guided signs, they are there to guide, and informations signs are there to give more information. Okay, so those are the 4 categories. Today we're gonna only look at this category, regulatory, right? Because that one, it's a bit longer, right? It has other categories under it, so it has other subcategories. Let's see those subcategories, just a brief of them. So under regulatory signs, we have a subcategory like your control signs, command signs, prohibition signs, reservation signs, and so on, right? So all of these ones, they fall under regulatory. Okay, so let's start with the first subcategory there, of which is control signs. All right. So yeah, first things first. Always when we start, whether road signs or markings, we always start with a stop sign, yield, right? So we always start with these ones, the ones that are telling us to stop or yield. So there it is. Everyone knows the stop sign. That's how it looks, right? So when I see this sign, it's telling me to stop. Doesn't say slow down, it says stop. You have to bring your vehicle to a standstill when you see this sign. So that's your stop sign. And this one here, it will be your yield sign. This upside down triangle, that will be the yield sign, right? Unlike a stop sign, this one, it has its own meaning, just like any other sign, right? So this one is telling us to yield or to prioritize other road users that we find there, especially if it's their turn, right? For example, let's just say the robot is open. We allow them to pass. So if there's no robot and we find them there, we still yield for those people. So we prioritize whosoever that we have found them. So if they are pedestrians, let them cross the road. If it's cars, let those cars pass. Stuff like that. Okay. So yeah, those are the 2 signs, basic signs ekumele uwazi ngenhloko. So let's go to the other ones. In fact, it's a lot of these signs that we have to understand, but those ones, they get us started. So sometimes what we do, we combine a stop sign and a yield, right? You find this on an intersection being combined like that, right? So what it means that if you are going in a direction that is not pointed by this yield sign here, right? So you must treat that sign as a stop sign. But if I'm going in the direction aligned to this here, for example, there it's turning left, right? So it means I can use that sign as a yield sign. Now, yielding, it doesn't really mean you have to stop your vehicle, right? Bring it to standstill. No. You only do so if it's necessary. If there are no road users there, you just slow down and pass without stopping completely. But if it's necessary, there are road users who you found it there, then there, in that case, you have to stop, right? Have to stop. All right. One other thing that I didn't say about the stopping and the yield, both of those two signs, right? Your stop sign and the yield sign, both of those signs, they are found in Guma intersections, Naguma crossings. Okay? Naguma crossings. And I'm not talking about Ama road crossings. I'm just talking about where road users cross the road, right? So when I say crossings, I'm talking about, like, for example, your pedestrian crossing or your cyclist crossing, right? Where other road users are allowed to cross the road. That's where we would find this. Guma intersections and also Guma crossings. All right. Let's go deeper then with the stop signs. What happens, or how should we interpret a stop sign when it has a number like this underneath it, right? That means it's a three-way stop. But first of all, you are always traveling in this direction, right? So that's your default direction. All of the signs that we're going to look at, these you should know, this is your default direction. When you are moving in that direction, and then upward direction. All right, so let's look at this. It says if a road, for example, it's a three-way road like that. I said three-way road, not three-way stop, three-way road, right? So meaning there are cars that are coming from this direction, and there are cars that are coming from that direction, and maybe cars that are coming from that direction, right? So in all three ways there are cars, right? So when we see this in a three-way road, what does that mean? It means every car here at this intersection here, at that intersection there, all these three cars, they will have stop signs. Everyone will see a stop sign there. And then in that case, this three-way road, it becomes a three-way stop. All the three cars, they have to stop over there. Now, the rules of stop Guguti, the person who stopped the first at the stop sign is the first one to go, right? So if I'm the one who stopped the first, I'm the one who has the right of way, right? So here, when I stopped the first here, I know that I'm the first one who's supposed to leave there. Just because a road is a three-way road, it doesn't mean it's a three-way stop. Please make sure that you understand that. All right, but I'll continue stressing that. When it has a 4 like that, if we have a stop sign, no 4. What does that mean? Let's try and change this from a 3-way into a 4-way, like that. Crossroad, right? It's a 4-way road. So what happens here? Again, similar thing, right? It means this one has to stop at that intersection. The one who's going this direction has to stop there. This one has to stop. And that one has to stop. Okay. So everyone must stop at that intersection, all the 4 cars, they have to stop there. Then it becomes a 4-way stop. All right. So, like I said, just because a road is a 4-way, it doesn't mean it is a 4-way stop. And to explain this better, let's go to our warning signs a bit, right? Let's go to warning signs. Okay. So remember, the warning signs, they are there just to warn you about whatever that you're gonna experience ahead, right? I hope you see these 3 triangles here, right? They look similar, right? In terms of what they are displaying inside of that triangle. All of them is that plus shape, right? But this one, the first one, let's look at it. That one is a crossroad. It's a normal crossroad. With a normal crossroad, it means no one is being prioritized. And if no one is being prioritized, then it becomes a 4-way stop. The first person who got it to that intersection is the first one to leave, right? In a crossroad. The second one, this one, your priority crossroad. This one is telling us, you see the thick part of this? That side, right? It's telling us that those people in that thick road that's presented there, they are the ones that are being prioritized. So again, this is still a 4-way like this, but the difference now is that the vertical road is being prioritized, unlike the horizontal one. What does that mean in terms of AMA signs? Like a stop sign and a yield sign? It means these guys here, you'll find that there's no stop or yield for them, the ones who are vertical. The stop signs and yield are found on these ones, the ones lababala, horizontal. So your priority crossroad, that's what's happening, right? Stop signs or the yield, they are found on the horizontal then. Similarly, with a secondary crossroad, now you see the thick road, it's horizontal, right? It means the people that are traveling in the horizontal direction, they are the ones that are being prioritized. Stop or yield, they are found go vertical direction, not horizontal, not a siding. Yeah, are we together then? So I hope you notice that a 4-way road, it doesn't mean a 4-way stop, right? Song? All right, so let's go back to our controls then and look at other signs. So yeah, sometimes if we have someone who's regulating a traffic flow, then those people will have this stop or go sign, right? Stop and go sign, right? So especially, let's just say if it's a road where school kids are crossing, and then they will stop the cars and then kids cross, and then they will use the go sign to show the cars that they can now proceed. So those signs are used by my traffic controllers. All right, now let's look at the yield in depth. Okay, so sometimes we combine a yield with other signs. Let's see, when we combine it with this sign of I'm a pedestrian, what does that mean? Prioritize I'm a pedestrian, right? So it is specific, unlike the other yield. The other yield, I said road users, meaning everyone. It didn't matter whether you were a pedestrian or you were what, right? So prioritize anyone that you find there. With this one, it's specific, right? Prioritize I'm a pedestrians only when I see that, right? So pedestrians should be given a priority. How about this one, right? When a yield has that circle in it, I hope you remember those markings, right? Like this yellow markings here, right? So those are your traffic circle mandatory direction arrows. They were there to tell us what we should travel in the clockwise direction, right? So when a yield, it's having those, or it's displaying those like this here. It's just telling us here, before you cross this yield line here, prioritize all the cars that are within the circle which are approaching you from the right. Okay. So same thing if we are talking about a mini circle, that prioritize the cars that have crossed this line before you. The ones that have crossed the yield line before you. Okay. So now these yield sign shouldn't be confused with a warning sign. I hope you saw a warning sign, right? It's a normal triangle. Yield, it's a triangle that's always facing down. That upside down triangle, it will mean yield. It changes the meaning. When I see an upside down triangle, I have to interpret it different, right? For example, let's look at this. You see this sign? It's looking down. It's a yield sign of those of that traffic circle, right? Now if I go to the warning sign and look at this sign here, they can't be interpreted the same. This is a warning sign, right? And just like any warning sign, it's telling me with pela ahead, this is how the road is gonna behave, right? You're gonna find the traffic circle ahead. That's how you interpret this one. The first one we said, you must yield. Yield. You must yield to the cars that have crossed a yield line before you.